What's going on there, folks? Good evening. This is the Earthmaster here on the live stream with an update video on this Wednesday night, September 7th, 2022. It's about 7:33 p.m. California time. Latest quake shows a 2.3 into the area of the Pacific Ocean. That's the big island out there, showing some movement. Looks like out around the Pahala area along the big island. So what's going on out here today, folks? I'm going to cover something real quick here before we get into the Mount Rainier activity, which comes to be clouds, so they say. Have you guys ever heard of Thwaites Glacier? That is better known as the Doomsday Glacier. It is a pretty large piece of ice, unusually broad and vast, Antarctic glacier, flowing into Pine Island Bay. Now this thing is pretty huge. They're saying it's a doomsday glacier because it could create some major sea level rises. Quite a few folks out there throughout social media and whatnot, news agencies, talking about this. It is about the size of Florida. It could dramatically raise global sea levels in a much faster pace than predicted. It looks like let's see, what do we got? There's a little picture of one of the working along the edge of the Thwaites eastern ice shelf in Antarctica back in 2019, which contains enough ice to raise sea levels up to 16 feet if it were to melt. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, but they kind of are talking about the current melting of this glacier and the rates of sea level rise, which is right now about 0.12 to 0.14 inches per year. So not a big deal. But 40% of the world's population live within 60 miles of the coast, many in areas that would be inundated by sea level rise of more than 3 feet. So, and that's if this thing decides to rapidly progress worse far as its decline and melting and breaking apart. So these guys, I'd like this at the end here. Unfortunately, I don't know if we can stop this, right? I know Earth goes through quite a few cycles. Right now we can do something about it. That's what it says. Especially if we can stop the ocean from warming. Interesting, right? Very interesting how they announce that. Either way, check it out. I'll leave this link here. It's a somewhat of a lengthy article, but it's definitely cool to check out. It looks like they're using this tone. Look at this. Thwaites is really holding on today by its fingernails, and we should expect to see some big changes over small time scales in the future, even from one year to the next. So we'll watch it, right? Definitely see how this plays out. The other story, there's a couple different stories tonight, so we'll kind of get through all of them here. The Mount Rainier area this morning had what looked like, and I read all of your comments too on the last video, what looked like a steam vent or some type of vent coming out of Mount Rainier in Washington there. It started out with some little clouds. The news agency Como, if you didn't check that video out or that picture of the steam vent coming out of Mount Rainier, go check it out. It's on my last video, also on the Como news agency website there on Facebook. But USGS Volcanoes put out this about 7 hours ago. They're talking about this morning, people in the greater Seattle metro area saw what appeared to be venting near the summit of Mount Rainier. To me, it looked like it right off the bat. I was like, whoa, what is that? And it was kind of a confined small area of what looked like steam or clouds or something developing there. Please note that a vent has not opened on the volcano. It says we have coordinated with our colleagues at the National Park Service, and their boots on the ground experts are suggesting it is a lenticular cloud. Now, they're pretty cool to look at. I brought this up so you guys can see what they look like. They're those normal UFOs, but we didn't see that. This wasn't hovering over Mount Rainier. It was definitely something different than this. But I do know high elevation areas, such as the volcano up there, Mount Rainier, pretty high in elevation, can stir up the atmosphere up there, especially when a front is moving through. There's still quite a bit of snow up there on the Mount Rainier volcano that can sometimes produce these certain clouds. But it didn't look like that this morning, and it hasn't throughout the day, so it's kind of odd. But they're stating here, lenticular clouds are often formed when moist air is pushed up and over the top of a mountain, forming a disc-shaped cloud. The webcam views from Paradise and Camp Sherman show the flow of the cloud over the top from a different view. In this case, is likely related to a passing weather front. Data from the seismic network jointly operated by the USGS Cascades Volcano Observatory and the PNSN network, folks, do not show any unusual levels of activity at Mount Rainier. By coincidence, check that out, by coincidence here, there are CVO field teams at Mount Rainier this week to install a new volcano monitoring station. They have also confirmed that there has been no new activity. And of course, this event comes at the beginning of September's Preparedness Month. This is a good opportunity to think about how you can prepare for the next event. Either way, it was just odd. So there is a photo there from the camp, what is this, Camp Sherman area? Kind of looking up at those clouds developing there. Notice there is quite a bit of snow melt still. And those clouds kind of forming there up over the volcano. I've seen it at Mount Shasta. It wasn't that dust that I'm talking about here a while back from the glacier melt, but I've seen these clouds develop here in the Coast Range of California, Mount Shasta areas, and they do form up there at the higher elevations. So, yeah, you know, it is what it is. We checked out the seismograph stations up there, and it looks like it's pretty windy. I didn't see any signs of volcanic unrest or any type of earthquake activity. I even pulled up the FIRMS map here. This is the Fire Information for Resource Management System from NASA. Now, it is kind of cool because it gives you a general idea where fires are or heat is. Now, don't look at this and think the whole world's on fire, because it's not. A lot of this is just radiant heat being reflected. There is some activity up in Yosemite and some other mountains there showing in the Sierra Nevada where fires have been. So it's pretty useful in determining that. But over here at the volcano, Mount Rainier, as we zoom in, obviously there would be some signs of heat, right? If it was at the surface, some type of steam. But this is not showing up at all from the firm's website. There's a little hint of something down here, a little block. Not for sure what it is. Again, a lot of times we get these errors popping up here. And I'm sure Idaho's not on fire. But, you know, in Yellowstone, nothing going on there through Yellowstone National Park. A lot of times there is some errors. But if there was some, you know, volcanic activity going on, it would definitely show up there on the firm's fire research map. There would definitely pop up. So, you know, again, I still see some comments on my videos that they live, you know, about 70 miles away from Mount Rainier, and how it does look like a steam vent. So just keep an eye on it. If you guys notice any changes up there, let us know here on the channel, and we'll be glad to pass that info along. This is a major volcano up there. It's been quite a while since they've had an eruption, over 600 years or so. And it's a dangerous one because of the amount of population that lives within the vicinity of Mount Rainier. But for now, you know, it's a good possibility of clouds building up there. And it just happened to look perfectly far as it developing off of the snow, creating the condensation here of the clouds. And you know, unfortunately I'm not up there. If I look and I see something tomorrow that looks like it's not what these guys are stating, then I will gladly drive up there and check it out for myself. I have no problem driving to Washington. But for now, we'll keep watching it there and see if there's any first-hand reports out there still. All right, what else do we have out there? There is some pretty crazy weather coming here to the Southern California region. This is the West Coast map here. 6-hour run here of the average precipitation rate, and there's going to be some heavy duty rainfall rates coming up here into Southern California. We're talking about on Friday. I think that's when it kind of starts to kick in there. Maybe Thursday night, Friday into Saturday time frame. Southern California. Who says it never rains in Southern California? Isn't there a song out there, something about that? They say it never rains in sunny Southern California. And, most of the time they get those monsoonal moisture storms up here that come in from the south, but a direct hurricane hit. There is some hurricane warnings in effect here for portions of Mexico. Once it does get to the Southern California regions, there are supposed to be some gusts up there around 60, 70 miles per hour or so, below hurricane strength. But the track right now, if you look here, we're going to back off here a little bit. The track kind of just brings it right smack dab into Southern California. I believe portions of LA and of course Sierra Nevada up north will get some rainfall. Here in Northern California, we're going to get gypped again, unfortunately. But at least we won't be 116 degrees. It's supposed to cool down in the low 90s. Whoop-de-doo. But Southern California is going to get some pretty intense rainfall rates here, and I'm sure some thunderstorms and whatnot, some flooding, flash floods and whatnot. And I had a little concern here because the San Andreas Fault sits down here. The southern segment of it kind of runs into the Brawley seismic zone. Let me pull up this map here real quick here and show you guys where it's at. It's pretty close down here near San Diego if you really think about it, right? Really close to the border as well. Here's the Brawley seismic zone. The Imperial Fault extends down here, and the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault sits right there in the dark red line. So why am I bringing this up? There's been talk here, and even the Yellowstone folks mentioned how ground concentrations there of water, snow melt and whatnot create earthquakes up at Yellowstone, and trigger swarms and fault systems up there that could be under strain. And that makes sense, right? And it does take a little time for rainwater and whatnot to soak down into the faults there. Now, this fault system, the southern section of the San Andreas Fault, has not seen a major earthquake in over 300 years. I heard about this growing up as a kid. Not going to tell, I'm not going to get my age out here, but a while ago. The big one's coming. California's going to fall off in the ocean. California's going to have a big one. They're not going to fall off in the ocean unless something drastic happens here with the plate. I couldn't see that happening, but you never know. But in 8.1 down here is the estimated magnitude that this thing has built up far as the predicted magnitude goes. And what happens here when we get all of this rainfall all over the Southern California region? We're talking about rainfall rates of stand by for a second here. Let me see what we got. Upwards of 3 to 4 inches. Ocatella Wells is expecting right around 2 to 2.5 inches of rainfall. Mount Laguna 3 to 4 inches. And there's a lot of fault systems down in here, right? But the one I'm worried about is once we get all that rainfall soaking down here into the area, 3 to 4 inches of rainfall. Is that going to be enough to so-called maybe lubricate this thing a little bit? We already know this thing is locked and compressed so tight. It's only a matter of time before it does release its full potential. And is this rainfall event going to be the trigger to possibly triggering this large earthquake here on the San Andreas Fault? It will be interesting to see. I've heard over the years here that rainfall is what the Southern California area needs in terms of unlocking this beast. It's built up, it's strained. I've always said, well, maybe another earthquake nearby could trigger it, and that's so true. That's true also. But I think rainfall down here, a massive amount of rainfall here, might take a little while to soak in. Maybe not. Depends on how fast that seeps down into the area around the San Andreas Fault. I'm going to watch it pretty closely. Either way, these guys are expecting a pretty cool storm, and I say that because I love hurricanes, and up here in Northern California, look, it just completely dissipates, and we get nothing. Up here where I live, nothing. Low 90s. A lot better. And the extended forecast, just nothing as well. Well, maybe right there. Look at that. That's down the road towards the end of September. Hey, that's pretty cool. I'll take a cold front. But, yeah, Southern California, get ready. I think maybe even Reed Timmer is going to be out there. Good old Reed Timmer chasing some hurricanes in Southern California. It's not going to be a hurricane when it hits there. But they're definitely going to be getting some flash flooding events, rainfall. And these guys aren't used to that type of weather down there. San Diego, Los Angeles will have some rain in there as well. But I think the brunt of the system forming just north of the border and into areas around the San Andreas Fault, like I mentioned, the southern branch. So we'll watch that pretty closely. And, man, I'm a little bit jealous. I'm tempted to drive down there. But I got so much schoolwork to do. It's just I can't do it right now. Cannot do it. So we'll definitely see how this plays out. Let's see here. 24-hour accumulated precipitation rates here. And they're pretty awesome looking. This is the GFS model in Southern California. And let's see which date this is. Saturday, it looks like. This is 24-hour accumulated rates. As you can see, some in the purple there. Looks like 4 to 5 inches. Kicking up pretty nicely. And again, Los Angeles probably will see a little bit. Not as much as the rest of the state, you know, further down south. But, yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, those guys need it, right? They definitely need it. But we'll watch that San Andreas Fault pretty closely. All right, earthquake activity currently. No big ones, right? Doesn't look like we have any big earthquakes going on. The latest quake here on the map looks like a 4.4 in India. A little bit of movement up there. And also out in Texas. It says New Mexico, but this is around Pecos, Texas here. 2.9 and 2.7. Aside from that, a little spotty activity through Alaska, the Aleutian Trench, and also down here in the South Sandwich Islands area. These guys seen a couple 4s and some 5s over the last 48 hours or so. They've definitely been kind of rocking and rolling down there. Here's the 7 days model here showing, well, looks like they had a 5.9, the largest so far in this area. Kind of comes up out of the blue. This is the area that did see the 8-pointer earthquake last year. So movement still continuing here within this trench region. Let's go ahead and check out the states here real quick with the all magnitudes map. Again, no earthquake activity to report around Mount Rainier. So, you know, I'm leaning towards more likely that those are definitely some cloud features, but it looked pretty cool this morning. And some small microquakes around Mount St. Helens. That's very typical there. Not a whole lot of activity throughout Northern California. A couple of spotty earthquakes here into the Willow Creek area, right around that fire. At a 2.3 at 37 kilometers, so that's not even anywhere near the fire. That's way down there into the Cascadia subduction zone. That's probably right around the Tremor area, most of the time where the Cascadia Tremor hits. Underneath Northern California, down dip from the Cascadia megathrust area that sits offshore. Some spotty activity throughout the eastern Sierra Nevada, although nothing major going on. And the creeping section here of the San Andreas Fault up against the Diablo Range, still showing some microquakes over the 24-hour period. And it looks like low activity around the Ridgecrest and also around the the White Wolf Fault Zone here. Now the southern branch here of the San Andreas Fault, not a whole lot going on at all. Very quiet. No major swarms to report. Nothing on the Brawley Seismic Zone or the Imperial Fault. The San Jacinto Fault Zones over here. A couple different segments, all showing just some microquake activity, which is very typical there in that area of the state. Yellowstone National Park listing up a couple small earthquakes today. Let's go ahead and check out the Yellowstone overview here real quick and see what we got. There's not a whole lot of swarming going on here. A couple small earthquakes it looks like here in the area. Let's see what we got. I'm not for sure what this is here. Kind of looks like geyser activity, but it's localized. It doesn't look like it's Let me see what we got here. Not really showing up over here, but if you look at Mary Lake, we kind of got that same signature. You guys see that right there? So this is in between 01 and 02. 01 and 02. It's a little bit different. Not quite on the same timestamp, so to speak. So I'm not for sure what that is. Kind of odd that it showed up later into the different portion of the park. But that's about the only areas that I'm seeing that odd signal on. If there was actually some magma movement underneath the ground here at Yellowstone, I believe that would strongly show up across the whole area, not just on one or two random stations there. So not for sure what that is. But as far as earthquake activity goes, there's not a whole lot today listed up there on the map. Just a couple there that the USGS listed. Around the New Madrid zone, a couple. We've got 3 of them, it looks like here. 2.3, 2.1, and 2.2. Outside of the Missouri area, Arkansas area as well, within that New Madrid seismic zone. Nothing going on across the eastern portion of the country. Big Island, though. Let's see what we got here around Pahala. Typical movement out there around the southeastern area of the Big Island. A little bit of movement looks like around the Loihi Seamount. Not specifically there, though, but it is offshore. And sometimes we do get these swarms kind of occurring and leading their way out here. But that's, don't see it too often. But there's just a couple small earthquakes out there today. A couple 2s and even a 3 in there. No major changes there across the board when it comes to the volcanoes. And far as general movement around the Philippines here, quite a few 4s and 5s over the last 24 hours. And just overall activity throughout the day today has been pretty much kind of all over the place. If you look at the map here, it's been spread out pretty far. Not a whole lot across the Atlantic Ocean, though. So we're just kind of watching things currently. The tremor map along the Cascadia shows no tremor. I don't know. I mean, it's been like that for about 5-6 days now, almost a week of no tremor. And we do have periods where there is no tremor officially, but then there's been times where these guys didn't even put any tremor on the map for an entire month. Stated they were working on some technical issues or some computer systems, doing some updates. So hard to believe that there's no tremor at all. But I'm not for sure how to access the raw data. I don't have any access to that. So kind of turn to these folks for the data itself. Let's see, space weather activity here. We are looking at a couple growing sunspots, although not looking too fancy in terms of the development of the magnetic fields here. Although this one right here is starting to grow a little bit. Getting a couple different colors and features there of the magnetic field. That's 3096. There is another new sunspot here kind of developing southwestern portion of it. Looks like it's a separate sunspot though. So we'll watch that one. I think that one may have potential, although 3097 here kind of rapidly grown as well. So just goes to show you folks that these things can pop off like crazy and grow pretty rapidly. But for right now, flare threat just sits at around 50% chance, M-flare at 5 and X-flare around 1%. And the current space weather conditions here show a little bit of elevated activity here on the aurora probability map. Looks like maybe a KP index up there around 2 or 3 kicking off. The current space weather activity shows quite the tilt here in the interplanetary magnetic field towards the south, and the BZ component allowing some solar wind stream to flow in. Even though there's not a lot, the speed is very low. The density is raising up a little bit, so just got a little bit of solar energy to deal with, it looks like, at the higher latitudes there, thanks to the BZ tilt to the south. And that might mean some auroras up there for the folks in Canada and the higher latitudes. But over the next couple days here, things pretty green across the board, aside from the, that little event that we're seeing right now. All right, guys. If you here's another thing I should have mentioned earlier in regards to the Mount Rainier activity. If you guys are local to that volcano in Washington, and you guys got a good view, please send me some images or some pictures or maybe even some video of of what you're seeing there. The email is earthmastermail@gmail.com. Pretty easy email to remember, earthmastermail@gmail.com. And I want to check it out. Kind of want to see what you guys are seeing there. Again, if I think things are looking like maybe a cover-up or something going on there, which I don't think is the case right now. But if it is, then I will definitely be driving up there. But yeah, send me what you got. Send me what you see. And can't wait. earthmastermail@gmail.com, and hope to get some emails from you guys. Alrighty, that's it for tonight. Have a good night, and we'll stay kind of busy out here doing our schoolwork, but also here on the live stream, just kind of monitoring things. And we'll chat you guys a little bit later on. Have a good night, everyone. Peace out.